Hello YouTube, back today looking at another one of my lighters, and today we have my 1960 Scripto Vu-Lighter, made in Atlanta, Georgia. This was actually a fairly interesting piece to try and identify the date because there's a fairly solid guideline you can follow. I found it at ToledoBend.com/VLC. I just wanted to give a shout out to those guys. I don't know them, I'm not affiliated with them, but they were the ones who provided me with the information on how to date my lighter. And like I said, the process was pretty interesting. I'm going to take you through a little step by step here. Alright, let's jump right into it. So the early models actually had a smooth cap with no thumb ridges, and that went from 1955 to 1959, and then in 1960 they introduced the thumb ridges. Another way to tell is the spark wheel axle, assuming that it's original, has a hollow peg from 1955 to 1961, and then 1962 and later had a solid rivet. And then also the marking on the chimney from 1955 to 1958, there was no marking. From 1959 to 1961, the buy is in the middle of is centered in the middle of the chimney, and from 1962 and up, the buy is actually off to the left here. Those are just some quick ways to get a general idea of what you're looking at here. Mine had the thumb ridges, the buy centered in the middle, and the hollow peg, so automatically that sets me up between 1959 and 1961. And because of the years that they changed the cap was in 1959, they went from smooth to thumb ridges. That would date mine at a 1960, because in 61 they had the buy to the left. So there's nothing particularly wrong with this lighter other than it just needs a flint, a wick, and some fluid. Usually on these, after time, they have a rubber seal, and the rubber seal gets dry and cracks and breaks. And I know you can't really see it with this low quality camera, but inside, when you push the button, there's a little valve and it opens up. And from what I can see, the seal on it is actually still really good. It looks like new rubber almost, even. And same with the cap on the bottom. The seal is like brand new. But the most interesting thing about this lighter is how it comes apart. To do those things, I was quite surprised, given the look of it. For being older, made out of plastic, you'd think it would be kind of cheaper, but it's a pretty ingenious mechanism they got going on here. And I'm going to go through it and take it apart and see if we can't get it working again. So the first step is removing the spark wheel, and that just comes out with a little pull. And move this off to the side here. If you twist this off, that's where the spring is, and that will hold the flint in place. It's neat because it's very shallow, but oops, spring went with it. Spring will need a little straightening, but I think that shouldn't be a problem. The next step is where the striker wheel sits, is here. There's a little I'm not sure what you call it. I guess I could look up the technical name, but it's just a little sleeve, a little holder that has a tab on it that holds it in place. And if you turn it and line the tab up with the hole, it should come right up and out. I'm going to say I cheated a little bit, and I used lighter fluid to motivate this one a little bit, and it should just pop right out. It was very delicate the first time, trying hard not to mangle that thing. So with the striker wheel out and its little sleeve, its holder out, what we can do now is close the lid and actually turn it like so, revealing a screw. Once again, this is something I motivated with a little lighter fluid as to not strip it or scratch it or anything like that. Used a long, thin screwdriver comes right out. Whoops. And the head comes right off. Go ahead and set that down. Set that down. Now on later models it actually shows that there's supposed to be a gasket here, and this didn't have one when I took it apart, and it doesn't mean that there wasn't one there originally, but I believe on the older models they didn't have a gasket, they just sat loose in there. So with that we can take our section of wick, which I have in my handy Ronson Redskin case. I had already pre-cut. You'll need it to be shorter because of the shallow depth of the well you have to put it in. I use the wire wick for this because there's not really any way to put it in other than to feed it in and grab it with the other side. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and give it a twist. Alright, now that our wick's back in, we can line it up, and as you can see there's a little hole in the rayon where the wick had went before. And perhaps I should have put the wick in this end first, but I thought it'd be better if I get too much on that end, and then I can hold it into place on the top end. Hopefully I should be able to just twist this and push it right back in there. I'm going to need to do this also off camera, but I just wanted to give a visual so you guys could see. Alright, so now we have the wick back in there, and it is firmly embedded into the rayon below. We can give this a twist and put our screw back in. Alright, and with that, I can turn the head back to the proper position, and we can slide our sleeve back down in here, remember in the bump and lining it up. And then turning it back into place, which is fairly easy. Then there's just a matter of straightening out the spring a bit. Alright. Got the spring straightened out and got it back down in there. So now we can load up the now we can load up the striker wheel with a flint, which I also have in my handy dandy Ronson Redskin case. Alright, so now all we do is just take the flint and drop it down the tube per usual. We go ahead and screw our cap back on here. I made sure first that the tube was free and clear of any obstruction like old flints or anything like that. And we can see that the flint is in fact touching the wheel. So with that back in, we can grab our lighter and go ahead and put it back together here. So now, there's no gas in it, but it should be throwing spark at least. Very good. So now we go ahead and grab our fluid and we'll give her a little shot of juice. Alright, we got the filler cap off, and I just wanted to note how good the rubber seal on it is. Like I was saying earlier, it's not worn, it's not cracked, it's not stretched. It's like new, it's beautiful. Alright, so let's go ahead and get some gas in it. Grab our Ronson fluid here. Alright, you can take your lighter, and the beautiful and selling point about the Vu-Light is you can see how much fluid is going into the lighter. Alright, getting it all down the side, nice. Alright, that should be good enough to give her a shot. We'll get the cap back on there and see how she does. Alright, so as you can see, we definitely have some fluid in there, and boy, did that clean up the design that was in there. The design is what they call Hunter with Dog. Original, I know, but it was not a custom design. It was one they had offered. So let's go ahead and give her a few pumps and see if she works. Alright, they say to depress the button and hold it upside down and shake till the bubbles stop. So I'm just going to give it a little shake. I held it upside down a moment ago to see if any of the fluid would leak out, if any of the seals are bad, but everything's held up, so I think we're good. And we should be primed to light. Let's go ahead and... There it is. 1960 Scripto Vu-Lighter. Back in action. Back in service. Alright guys, I want to thank you for watching. Remind you to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time with the next vintage lighter. Alright, thank you.